it's more important. And the thing is that, because think of this thing, what did the teachers of the time call Jesus? Rabbi, which means teacher. Why do they not call him preacher?
Because there's a difference between teaching and preaching.
What is the difference?
Well, when you preach, you're talking at people. But when you're the others, you're talking to the people. It's like Jesus made up all these stories that people would understand in layman's terms. That's basically what he did. He broke everything down in layman's terms, real simple and easy, and bam.
Which bears greater fruit?
The rabbi.
So then, therefore, which should you desire to be? So, my point is that I've got this thing, I'm actually going to it because I'm trying to find out, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm trying to find out the actual time that it mentions in the Old Testament. Because there's one obscure passage that mentions it. So, Michael, I want to know why it chose at that time to use that word. Any other time they used another word. But that time they used a different word. Y'all know how that bothered me. But the reason why is that I want to stay on pain because I think that we need to understand pain. I've told y'all this thing about pain. There are two types of pain. Can y'all remember the two types of pain?
Yes. You got physical pain, and then you got mental pain.
Okay, now understand something. There is an overlap between the two because you can hurt physically and you can hurt mentally. The thing is that physical pain is quite one thing, all right? But what is, honestly, I don't want to set aside physical pain because if a person, I think of Carrie. She lives it. How rude would it be for me to say, well, that's not important? Live with this crap constantly every day, and you'll find out just how important that is because everything centers around it. But how many times do you find that your physical pain overlaps your mental pain? Yes, and then all of a sudden now your response and how you deal with things. You tell people, man, I got a sore back today, so shut up and leave me alone. Because again,
physical pain will end eventually.
Well,
but
you hope.
Well, you can bear
well, you hope.
drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
But now, an emotional pain, that's like
that's where I'm talking about. So now there are two types of emotional or psychological pain. What are the two types? The pain that hurts and the pain that alters. I told y'all this story last week and I'm going to say it again. One of the deals that I made with God, and I know you're not supposed to make deals with God, but I said, okay, God, if you believe, and if let me rephrase that. God, if I'm going the wrong direction in my pursuance of Freemasonry, and if I'm doing the wrong thing, then take me out of it. If it's not for my good, if it's not for your glory, take me out of it. Now, if you try, and can you imagine if y'all would actually live by that? Actually live by that. I live by that. And the thing is that because I've learned this lesson, that if you want to move in this realm, you've got to let this realm go. You have to. You can't live in both worlds. You absolutely cannot. And so the thing is that even Aleister Crowley himself said it. You cannot serve God and you cannot serve this. You can't do it. Aleister Crowley said that. He chose to do this because it fulfilled his goals. My goal is to live closer to God. And so the thing is that I knew I was doing the wrong thing because he revealed it to me. And I said, okay, God, if this is the case and if you believe, this is where you want me to be away from this thing, then I'll surrender. Because you got to understand, everything that I wanted to achieve, everything that I wanted to see was there. I found the doorway to the answers of all the things I've ever wanted to know. And I remember going down the road, 9th Street exit, I hear these words, but you never asked me if it was right. There are a lot of things out there that will tell you a lot of answers, and there are a lot of answers that we really don't want to know. We say we want to know, but do you really want to know? And when you find out and you walk through this door, you realize that when you walk through this door and you start putting your hands in that stuff, you realize it stains your soul. It affects everything around you. You open doorways. People say, I don't know, you believe. I believe it. I've seen it. I have seen it firsthand. I've seen what it does to people. I've seen the nature of people. Even to the point where, like I said, I had a set of tarot cards. And I was like, God, you've not really said anything. And I remember one day I'm coming in the house, and I heard God say, don't you take them into your house. I got rid of them. I remember throwing my set that I had away forever, and I remember throwing them away. And I'm hearing this, don't throw them away. Don't throw them away. Don't throw them away. You don't need to get rid of them. And I'm like, no. I said, God, I don't want any questions. I want no questions. All I want to hear now is, what do you say? That's all I want to hear. Because the thing is, I will tell you, tarot and all these things will talk to you. They will. Everything that happened in my life and my Masonic journeys and all the downfalls and all the falling apart, do you know the tarot cards told me everything was coming down? But you have to understand, when you interpret these things, they will always tell you what you want to hear. You will always interpret them to telling you what you want to hear. And what is the danger of that? It's you following your heart. And your heart is what? Deceitful above all things. So I walked away from it all, and I gave it all up. All of my friends, all of my companions, all of the people that I was in my world is gone now. Gone. My phone is a ghost now. But I asked God, I said, God, please, if I do this, don't let me live with regrets. I don't want to live with regrets. I need to know. I thought that I heard God say, okay, yeah, just shake them. He didn't say nothing. I just assumed that that was the bargain, Lance. And I've heard every day since then. Every day since that, I've heard. So here recently, I was, like, how long do you got to hurt before you ask why? I'm usually about 2 years, apparently. Because it's taken me over 2 years, Gordon, to finally get the strength to go. Well, my leg's been hurting really bad. Well, how long have you been walking with this thing on the leg? Well, yeah, you broke it 3 years ago. What the? When'd you notice that? Well, apparently, it's taken me 2 years to sit down and say, God, why do you still make me hurt? And he says, he led me to this point of saying there's two types of pain. And believe it or not, I actually had to see it watching the Denzel Washington Equalizer movie. And he tells this guy, you got to make a choice. There's two types of pain. The pain that hurts, the pain that alters. So I did the research on it. I'm like, it's true. And I said, God, why? He says, because the thing is, he said, if it did not hurt, you would not remember the lesson. If it did not hurt, you would not remember the lesson. If it don't bother you, if you don't have no hot check fees, guess what? Dave, if it don't cost you nothing when you ride a Heidi, guess how many Heidis you can ride now? Oh, you want to. You got endless Heidis. What's the point? It costs you something. And when you start paying that price for something, now it becomes something of value. So I started doing research, and I started looking for the words pain. What hurts us? What causes us pain? What is the pain? And I was led to Psalms 119, 67 through 71, and we talked about this. And the thing was, is that y'all want to go there, we're going to read on this thing, but we're going to sidetrack it for just a second. So 67 through 71. I will read it, and then we're going to pick out some things. We didn't went over this last week, but we're going to reinforce them because I had to read them again. He says, before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I have kept thy word. Thou art good and doest good to teach me thy statutes. The proud have forged a lie against me, but I will keep thy precepts with my whole heart. Their heart is as fat as grease, but I delight in the Lord. It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn thy statutes. So the focus is on 67 and 71. So first thing is that we find that our afflictions, he says, before I was afflicted, I went what?
Astray.
Astray. So what does that tell you? That's how God disciplines you. That's how God brings you back. And so now pain, our troubles, our trials is God, because some of us are stupid. Okay? Some of us are stupid, AJ. And the only way we can learn, because again, what's the saying? A smart man learns from what? A wise man. But we're all, well, I'm not going to say we're all, because some of y'all are actually smart. I'm not. I'm stupid. I've got to pay for things to learn for things. But the good thing is, I usually have to pay for things once. And once I get burnt, I still remember sending a dude $100 and something back in 1982 because he told me on the phone that I want a trip to Florida, round trip. All you got to do is send in $100. Guess what Monty did? Monty ran down. Monty didn't have $100, but Monty wanted to go to Florida, Lance. So Monty went down and sent $100 to this number. Guess what Monty did not go do? Monty did not go to Florida round trip. So now, when telemarketers call me, I have this thing that I keep music on cue, and so when they call at work, we constantly call at work, and so what I do, I turn the speakers. And I usually will go through, because there's this whole process that if you engage them, that's why they have the robocalls from the beginning, because it's once it goes over a certain amount of time, then it starts clicking. And their time starts counting. I get the real people on the phone, David, it costs them money. And so I'll put on there and I'll go through it, and I'll say something, I'll go along with it, and when I got them fully engaged, and I put the music on. Usually some kind of stupid music that I'll make them listen to for a while, or I'll just set it down there. Or I'll tell them the dog is their service or parts manager or something like that. Because why? You son of a gun burnt me, and I can't stand y'all. So here's the thing, is that I learned this lesson. I learned my lesson. You ain't getting me by telemarketing. Now, you'll get me somewhere else. I'm still stupid. But the thing is that here is this guy, he's saying, before I was afflicted, I went astray. But now, I act. So, then later on we find out that he says what? How often do we look at pain and say, it is good that I've been afflicted? How often when we're in trouble, because you realize that there's something else coming in this morning. Do you know there's a difference between suffering and trials and all that and stress? Do you know what the difference is? No. The big difference is stress is what you take on yourself trying to handle. Think about that. You take it upon yourself. Suffering and troubles and trials, that's different. But we find out that our suffering and trials are actually a teaching meeting. Now, we're going to talk about the word here in a second. But I love it. He says, it is good. Now, what would happen if we start thinking in terms of when we're going through suffering, when we're going through troubles, when we're going through trials, we start looking at it like, okay, it's good that I had a hot check. I'm glad that I've had to pay this bill. Guess what? Now I've learned the lesson. But see, we don't say that. Why do we not say that? Because we ain't learned the lesson. We don't want to learn the lesson.